Rebel religion in the news.
All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Rebel Religion in the News, where we take a look at the day's news and see how it pertains to God in our Christian lives. I'm with my co-host, Alfredo Romero, the pastor of Rock of Life Fellowship, and our guest on Mondays, Pastor Brandon Merrick of Our Savior Lutheran Church out of Paradise. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
What a weekend. I think the big story was Robert Kennedy announcing that he's going to leave the race and then he's going to endorse the former president, Donald Trump. But he actually said some things that I think resonated with many people. And maybe people don't even understand, and I didn't really realize it myself until I did a little bit of research on it. When we talk about the importance of good nutrition, that's very biblical, is it not?
Hugely biblical. Yeah, we were just bringing up some Bible verses about how God talks about our bodies being temples. We're to take care of them. There's actually something that a lot of people have done in church for a while called, I think it's the Daniel diet. It's about how to eat the types of foods and vegetables and fruits that the Bible describes in the Old Testament. There's Bible verses about gluttony and making sure that you're eating well and take care of. Yeah, it's amazing. And that's the thing about Robert F. Kennedy's speech that really hit me when he's talked about America being one of the most unhealthiest countries in the world.
Proverbs 25, verse 16. If you find honey, eat just enough. Too much of it, and you will vomit. I didn't know the word vomit was in the Bible, but apparently
a few
it is.
times.
Yeah, really, yeah. You were telling me that your church, at Our Savior Lutheran out of Paradise, you've been discussing this with your congregation.
Well, not necessarily directly with my parishioners, but last couple of weeks I got some not great news, from the doctor, and so clearly I need to eat healthier, and so I have been. And my wife and I, real quick, when my son was in 5 years old, diagnosed with ADHD. And so, we went through the whole dietary kind of thing that I think a lot of parents have gone through now with young kids about, elimination diets, trying to figure out what's affecting kids, what's not. And that taught us at a very young time in our marriage and with our family that, nutrition is important. And, the kind of stuff that people buy today, the over-processed food, just all of the vitamins, everything's been stripped out. And we hear the obesity numbers, and I can't remember now, but, well over half of all children are obese.
And this is maybe the only thing I could think of in which a conservative Christian and a Kennedy type would probably come to an agreement on.
But not the Democratic Party. I mean, I'm just going to speak the facts here because they've been celebrating obesity for a few years now. And it's been a big push on the more liberal side of the ticket here to talk about body image, and you're fat shaming, and there's stars like Lizzo that celebrate their obesity. And so I have not seen that from the more liberal side of the parties. Whereas when you do call out somebody for being unhealthy, they'll call you a fat shamer. For example, look at some of the magazines like Victoria's Secret. They got rid of their angels for a while and put women of all shapes and sizes, and unfortunately, most of them looked very unhealthy. And then you talk about diet, and look at all the drugs out there, the diabetes. It just goes on and on and on.
But there's both sides. There's an argument to be made on each side. I mean, because sometimes we judge people based on how they look, on their figures and on their physiques. And
yes.
And some people aren't blessed with really wonderful bodies, like the three of us, So, I mean, because of that, I mean, it's not fair. And so I kind of see where that's coming from, because we shouldn't be judging people based on how they look. Sometimes somebody's obese just because they're obese. And I think that I think there's a fine line here.
Well, so, I have a parish, right? Alfredo does too, and you've been in churches. Does the way someone looks affect how much you care about them?
No.
Of course not. And again, we're not talking about, the two different arguments here,
Yes,
really. Because on one hand, looks shouldn't matter, but they do. They matter to all of us, and we all have preconceived ideas. But what we're talking about here is the health side of that.
Yes.
You know, you don't, something looks like it's bothering you today. Is that okay to say? Then why isn't it okay to say, you know, I've noticed that, you know, you're putting on, you know, a lot of weight, and I realize it's a very uncomfortable situation, but the reality is that we should be able to talk about that just like any of the other kind of things that people are going through. But again, one side will say, well, but we need to celebrate that, and you need to see that as attractive, and you need to see, but that's not really the point.
I guess it's the tone of the way it comes across. If it comes across as, you know, privately and in a very quiet way, I mean, if I'm gaining weight, I don't want my kids to say I'm a fat slob or anything like that, or you can
Hey,
say
Pop,
things.
you're looking kind of pudgy there.
Yeah, and there needs to be sort of and there needs to be a gentleness to it. And,
Yeah,
and,
we'll
and
keep
I don't. Sometimes I don't feel. I think I kind of disagree with you guys a little bit. I'm kind of on the side where sometimes I think you're being too critical. Both of you are very in good shape. You're very skinny. I'm not. Okay,
No,
and so
that's
maybe it's because I'm not.
No.
I'm not in the condition you guys are in.
No, that's not it. See, God's people come in all shapes and sizes.
Yes.
The real argument would be whatever shape and size God's given you, everyone should strive to be the most physically fit and healthy they should be, no matter what that looks like. Because I do realize that people do come in all shapes and sizes, but that's not the point. The point is everyone has to strive for some type of health consciousness. Now, the problem with it, and this is where it changes, is it seems like our culture is now promoting an unhealthy lifestyle.
Well, here's what worries
That's
me.
the problem.
Here's what worries me about what you're saying. All right, we have to be healthy. We have to eat right. It's
Yes.
important. So now we're going to mandate it. And you know what? You want to have a Big Mac? You're limited to one Big Mac every month. And the government's going to tell you, no, we're not going to sell soda pop anymore because it's not good for you. And the government's going to mandate, no, we're not going to let you have a Snickers bar and Milk Duds and Skittles. You don't get those anymore because you know what? We're going to decide that it's best for you to look the way we want you to look. And we want you to eat the way we want you to eat. I don't know if I like where you two are going.
But they do that now. Hold on, I'm sorry.
Okay.
No,
But they do that now.
I want to
Go,
hear from
go,
him.
Go.
No, so you know, and I hear what you're saying, and when I said, you know, if you can talk to someone about that, you know, kind of thing, what I don't mean that we need to make sure that all of our members are fit and looking good and healthy.
You want to promote a healthy
The-
lifestyle.
Right. The reality is the Christian can't make anybody do anything because God doesn't make people do things. And so what we need to talk about are the benefits. What we need to talk about is, you know, there's an unhealthy lifestyle is going to limit you. It's going to limit you physically.
And
You're
that's
not
their
gonna have
choice.
as
That's
much-
their
that is
choice.
Absolutely their choice.
Yes.
Until, and this is the problem, until the health insurance companies get involved. For example, let me
They're
tell you,
already doing that.
that's what I'm saying. They're already doing
Yes.
it. They're already involved. For example, they're now promoting that if you get a physical every year, right, there's certain deductions that will come into your account. They also, that's what Robert F. Kennedy was talking about. They make tons of money off of our unhealthiness, tons of it with their drugs and all that. Doctors don't promote, okay, really need exercise. Here's a regimen. Here's healthy eating. Here's what you're doing. You know, here's Ozempic. Here's a fat burner. Here's a drug to handle this. Here's a drug to handle that. It's just, and what Robert F. Kennedy was saying, which I didn't really like him, but now I kind of do for some of his thoughts. Our cancer rates are up. The obesity level is way up. 70% of our children's diet is processed foods. We're behind like the 33rd worst country in the world for
But it's people's
unhealthiness.
choice. If they want to eat unprocessed foods or processed foods, if they want to eat, you know, banana splits every day for the rest
That
of their
is
lives,
true.
that's their choice.
That
I
is
don't
true.
care.
That is
and
true.
that's up to them. And I like the idea of saying encouraging people to eat right. I like the idea of encouraging people to go work out and go for walks and do things that are healthy. I think that's good. But sometimes I don't necessarily like. I think that there is a slope which could go too far, where you make people feel crummy about the way they are and the decisions they make, and I'm a little bit concerned about that.
Well, there's good decisions and there's bad decisions about everything. Right, and we're
And
not,
someti-
and we're
and
not trying
sometimes-
to say that you're a bad person
Yes,
because
yes,
of the way you
yes.
look.
There are some.
Absolutely
Yes,
not.
no, I disagree with that. I'm not saying you two, but
Right.
I'm saying that there are people out there that really judge people harshly by the way they look
True.
and the way they eat, and
True.
and
And that's
even,
bad.
and even if people want to smoke, smoking is bad. Everybody knows it.
Right.
But I'm not going to sit here and lecture somebody and say, "Oh, smoking is bad for your health. Smoking. This person who has an addiction knows that smoking is bad. Nobody, and that they have that choice. People know that eating a banana split every day for the rest of their life is bad. They don't think they need to be told that by Bobby Kennedy or Donald Trump or anybody else. I think it's good to promote it, but I'm afraid that the promotion will go to a requirement. That's what I'm concerned
Okay,
about.
now, myopically, if I just look at your point, I 100% agree. 100% agree. Now, if I expand that point, my problem is that it's pushed upon our children. Our children are obese. 70% of our children are obese. We've got kids with juvenile diabetes like never before. The processed foods that they're feeding our kids has more chemicals in it than ever before. And once you start, okay, you want to be a plus 18, 21-year-old adult and eat a banana split every day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, fine. But they're shoving that stuff on our kids, and our kids are more unhealthy, and they can't
They're
make
not. They're not
decisions.
shoving it on your kids.
Oh, sure they are.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
People
You've seen
people have an option to buy anything they want. You look at the thing that you're purchasing and you go, oh, okay, this is the fat content and this is what it has. It's all there.
Ask any mom, dad that shops. It's way easier and cheaper to buy crappy fast food and crappy processed food
that's-
because you
that's-
can't afford to buy.
But we don't need
can't afford
Alfredo
to buy good
Romero
stuff.
to tell us what we should be eating and not eating, and what you're allowed to eat or not eat.
I'm not
People should-
telling. I'm promoting healthy lifestyle.
Promoting is good.
That's all I
as
want.
long as that's as far as it goes.
I know I don't like mandates and I don't like this and I don't like that. But when the government is actually shoving that stuff down your throat, then I've got a problem with that.
Well, is it a sin? Is it a sin
Yes.
to eat?
Take it away.
We're going to be hitting a break in almost any second, but I don't know if we're going to continue this discussion or go on to something else, because this is pretty interesting. We can keep talking about this, but that music means we've got a timeout coming up. We might talk about the Bible being taught in schools in Oklahoma, and there's some resistance to that. Although we might decide to just continue talking about this because it got pretty heated. We'll decide during the break. We'll be right back.
I tell you, this is Alfredo from Rebel News with Jerry and Brandon. What we're going to do is this. I just want to conclude the conversation we had about promoting a healthy lifestyle. And the last question you said was, does the Bible talk about unhealthy lifestyles and perhaps the word gluttony in there any place? What do you think?
It does. But I wanted to go back with even one more step to talk about how, being promoted. And honestly, when you go shopping, you see what's promoted. Because what's more expensive, to go to Whole Foods or to go to, the grocery bin down the store or down the road?
Sure.
It is cheaper for people that are on a limited income, limited budget when it comes to food. You're going to buy a bunch of processed cereals and breads and stuff like that have zero nutritional value, because that's all you can afford. If you want the fresh vegetables, if you want the stuff that isn't ultra processed, it's hard to find them in the stores anymore. This weekend we went to the farmers market in Chico. Strongly, if you haven't been there, everybody needs to go. Because again, there you're going to get to see, good food to eat that's grown locally and responsibly, right? This other kind of stuff. But I think that we need to promote more of our farmers markets. think we need to promote more of these things.
I'm with you. I hear you loud and clear. What I don't want to have happen is, there's this attitude with some who eat well and stay fit to look down on people who don't do that.
Yes,
and kind of point a finger down and say, shame on you.
I agree. That's
you
bad.
are not a good eater. There's a lot of that goes on.
There is.
And I see it online, and
it's bad.
And
it's
I
wrong.
understand. I mean, if I'm watching a local newscast or I'm watching a television newscast, I like to see people who are attractive, who are thinner, because it becomes a distraction sometimes. There's nothing wrong with looking good. We also don't want to go too much in the other direction where we say, yeah, who cares what you look like? It doesn't matter. You want to, come on unshaven, like I do.
Sure,
That's
sure.
our choice.
I didn't
Right.
cut my hair. Tell you what. Can we just agree that our government and ourselves, each one of us, can do a better job at promoting healthier lifestyles.
All right.
That's all I can say.
And so Kennedy is now on the Trump train.
Yep.
And it's kind of, but there were some other reasons he wanted to be on that Trump train. I think it had to do with the way the Democratic Party treated him, and the way there was really no democracy in the an appointment, I suppose, of Kamala Harris as being the candidate. I mean, nobody voted for it. And I think that's what bothered him
Oh, sure.
most.
The undemocratic Democratic Party.
Right. I think that was it, as much as anything else. Well, anyway, we're going to move on. Oklahoma's school district was told that near Tulsa, was told that they need to start teaching the Bible in school. And there's been resistance from some of the teachers to actually do that. And there was a mandate. And so school has started, or is about to start. I guess it did start there. We're in August. And the resistance follows a summer order that propelled Oklahoma to a push by conservatives to give religion a bigger role in public schools across the United States. Still, the fight may be far from over, while other states, including Texas, are seeing Republicans advance similar efforts into the classrooms. I know that Pastor Brandon Merrick, you are opposed to this, and Pastor Alfredo, you think it's a good idea. I'll let you two go at it. We have about 9 minutes.
You go first.
Yeah, we've talked about this once on the show before, I think, a while back, and there's a couple of reasons why this is a bad idea. One is because that teachers aren't trained in that. There might be a couple of Christian teachers there who are familiar with the Bible, and they can certainly teach a little bit of a lesson to the kids properly, but the reality is these teachers aren't trained to teach the Bible, and the Bible is a very complex document where you need to understand context, and you need to understand what kinds of literature you are reading. There is some history, there is some historical documents within the Bible, but not all of it's historical.
I want to mention
Some
that
of it's poetry.
This mandate in Oklahoma schools must incorporate the Bible into lesson plans for all public school students in grades 5 through 12. Well, that's the ages 10 through about 17. I kind of think 10 is too young. In fact, I don't remember doing a lot of Bible class. I think I started catechism class at my Lutheran church when I was, 13?
Well, but at church, we have Sunday school for kindergartners, right? I
Right.
mean, you start early teaching these kids.
But
and
again-
kids
but
should be
again,
brought up in the scriptures.
I think it
100%.
adds to the point, to your point, which I agree, which I sort of understand, where maybe it's too young. I mean, I could see maybe in the 12th grade, maybe a senior year, where you have some sort of simple, here's some different religious, and it shouldn't just be Christianity. It should be, maybe the 3 or 4 major religions where people learn about, I think, which will help create some tolerance and understanding of what other people believe. I think that would actually be something that would be good. But I kind of agree with you. I see a problem.
It won't be taught objectively.
Yeah.
If you're teaching multiple, and I've taken multi-religion classes, and you always know where the professor lands on their views. And so you can't teach these things objectively.
Alfredo
They're
is
meant
sighing.
to be taught at home.
Alfredo is sighing. He wants to get a word in here. Go ahead, Alfredo.
Okay, I'll tell you. I'm writing these notes down because I don't want to forget. Okay, you just said something. We know where they land. Then we'll know where they land if they discuss the Bible. Hey, we know where they land now. We know where they land now.
But not a 4th grader. A 3rd grader aren't
Are
going to
you
know
kidding
where
me?
they
They're
land.
being taught that 4th and 5th graders can change their sex and become furry kittens and
that should be
crap
thrown
in a
out of the
litter box.
schools.
Yes.
It should, absolutely. But we know where they land. We know where they land. So here's my point. All right, here's my point. All right, we already know that the Bible is being thrown out of schools already. It's very difficult to even get Bible studies in there. And okay, that's fine. Kids have gotten in trouble. You got to think about extremism, you guys. You get in trouble if you walk in saying "I love Jesus" shirt. They tell you to take it off because it's hate speech. There's tons of cases like that. You can't even mention the Bible. So this response from the school is saying, wait a minute. You can't outlaw the Bible because you pretty much let anything else go in there. You can have Satan clubs now, which are all over the schools. You can discuss Satanism, and you can discuss hedonism, and you can discuss Islam, and you can discuss everything, but you can't mention the Bible. All I want is freedom of speech. So here's the thing. So what they could do, the difference between sharing and preaching the gospel, the good news, as opposed to, which is You're right. They're not educated to do that. But as opposed to teaching the Bible as a possible historical text, your topics could be creation versus evolution. They're teaching creation right now. We all, excuse me, they're teaching evolution. They don't want to touch creation at all. We came from monkeys. Amoebas turned into fish. Fish turned into monkeys. Monkeys turned into men. They're teaching that crap now. Sorry. But all right, we could talk about it as it's just archaeological discoveries, right? Yeah. All the archaeological discoveries that they're coming right now to support the possible historical issues of the Bible. If you do it from an objective point of view and you tell the teachers, well, this is objective, why not? That's what I'm saying.
Right, and I would agree with that. Most of what you said there. There should be allowed to have Bible studies at school, and kids should be allowed to pray at school in groups.
Yes.
But you can't tell the teacher to make the kids all pray in their class.
That's
Well,
not
no,
what I'm saying.
no.
That's not what I'm saying.
But I see what
I'm saying.
Alfredo's saying, though, because
Certainly.
I get what he's saying, because there is archaeological evidence that a lot of these things existed. In fact, we just got some new evidence that the Shroud of Turin is actually
2,000 years old.
Dated back to the time of Christ. And now that's been, first it said it was, then it said it wasn't, and these tests went back and forth. The latest test, which just came out a week ago, is that this was something dated back to doesn't necessarily mean it was Jesus'
Right.
shroud, but it certainly means it was in the time frame of, and the wound suggested it could very well be his. It's fascinating, and we'll never know until our final day.
Yeah, our faith is not based on whether or not the Shroud of Turin is real or not. But there are tons of archaeology. I got bookmarks on my computer about. They found artifacts of the city of David. They found the baptism pools. They found an ossuary of James, the brother of Jesus. There's discovery after
the
discovery.
Indiana Jones movies. Believe it or not, people are aware of that there was a Holy Grail. Sure. People are aware that there was the Ark of the Covenant. So they're aware of these things. And so why not present, this is the fiction, here's the facts on which they're based.
And it's up to you to make your own
It's up
decision.
to you to make your own decision. I mean, I could see that.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I can see that.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
There should be biblical mentions within the context of the teachings, right? And again, it would be wonderful if they'd start teaching creation again in the schools, which they did at one time.
Well, maybe how
but they
about,
should be teaching these things. But
Yeah.
what I don't agree with is this mandate, and it's a mandate, right, from the state itself that says these
Well, what is-
schools
Well,
need
the
to be teaching
mandate,
the
the
Bible.
mandate is more of a, hey, you need to include the Bible in your teachings. That's what the mandate is. It's not saying you must. We're going to force you to preach the gospel. What they're saying is, look, you've taken the Bible out of schools. What we want you to do is we're going to mandate now. It is a mandate. But the specific mandate is you are now to include the Bible in your teachings.
well, look, I mean, Socrates and Plato, they wrote, how many centuries before the gospel? I mean, well before that, and yet that's taught in schools. So in terms of history and philosophy, I mean, why shouldn't the
Well, absolutely,
thing
because there
Yes.
actually is more proof that the New Testament,
More evidence.
right,
Yes.
that the New Testament is real versus, say, the writings of Plato or
Right.
Aristotle, right?
Right.
And we believe these are real men who walked around and taught, and yet there's more evidence, right, for the New Testament. Those things I think should be taught in school.
Right.
There's actually, if you don't even look at the Bible, you can look and complete the gospel just from the historical records that we do have. Tacitus, Josephus Flavius, the Jewish records. You can piece together the gospel. They mention Jesus. They mention that he died. He died, and the claims that he was resurrected. You can do this. We can do this, people. Come together.
Well, that music unfortunately means that our conversation is over with. Really enjoyed it, though. On behalf of the Reverend Alfredo Romero and Pastor Brandon Merrick of Our Savior Lutheran Church, their service time, as you can see if you're watching the podcast, is at 10 o'clock on Sunday morning. The address is there in Paradise. Thank you for joining us, everybody, and so long.